What is up, guys? This is Pinzo back with another video today, and what I have for you is patch notes. This is patch 0.12.1, and it is pretty big. I've briefly looked through it, but we're going to go over it in some more detail for you guys down here. As always, if you guys enjoy the video, please do leave it a like and a subscribe. We just hit 300. We are on the way to 350. Thank you guys for the support. I really appreciate all of it. And if you guys have any opinions on the patch, let me know in the comments down below. I'm curious what you guys think as well. With all that said, we're going to jump right into the patch today. We're kind of going to be zooming through it to get it all done, so bear with me. If you need to put it in 0.5 speed, you might have to. Starting us off, Greystone, Narbash, full sound effects overhaul. Bug fixes. The only one that matters here is that cleave damage no longer aggroes towers. This means that it's much harder to just W key a melee character and make them take tower aggro and have to leave. Now you actually have to get them to attack you directly. Gurgias gets a fix. Hunter, apparently everyone had this before. Yeah. Heroes, Boris, applies on hit. Countess doesn't get to be invisible. Morigesh doesn't get blue face. Take that how you will. Balance, towers. So towers basically have protections as long as there aren't minions within them attacking them, and those protections get to stay off for 3 seconds after your minions leave the tower. This isn't super impactful. The main thing that makes you leave a tower is the fact that you're taking tower aggro. So this might be help in solo lane where you can eat a tower shot or two. But other than that, I don't see this mattering too much. XP. Solo laners hate playing against ranged characters, so they got mad, and now their XP range is a little longer so that they don't get bullied quite so much. Jungle. Jungle minions get a health buff. Veil armor gets a nerf on the physical armor, gets a little more health though to compensate. Overall, this is a nerf. The physical armor was really strong. Nerfing that down to 45 brings it more in line with the other items in the game. Dev Blade is getting a complete change. It's now getting 25 crit chance, and its physical power is going down, price going up, build off targeting adjuster. Basically, now you can get like 95% crit chance pretty easily as a carry. Carries are going to be super busted after this. I'm calling it now. If it doesn't happen, you can call me a liar in a week. When it does happen, I'll drink your tears. Agurgias, max stacks are reduced, but you get more per stack, so it makes up for it. Your aura goes up, and your duration goes up as well. This item, I still don't think it'll be picked up over Bale Arm, but is now a viable second option if the enemy team's running 2 carries. U-Mantle, you have to be more precise. Duration goes down. Fist of the Titan. You get your percent health damage reduced. I don't think this is the right way to nerf this item. I think this item is still going to be busted. This item, as long as this is a passive, is going to be OP as long as it gives power and health. If they change the stats that it gives, then maybe this passive is okay. Until then, it's going to be busted. Hunter gets a buff because now everyone doesn't get it anymore. So you get more health, more attack speed. You might see this in solo lane a little more. King gets nerfed again. Basically, they want you to get less gold for kills, and that's what King was all about, so no more of that. Heroes. They change hero movement speed, in my opinion, a bad way. Basically, now you are moving faster while auto-attacking, you're moving faster while backpedaling, and your acceleration's increased. This is just a protection for carries because they were tired of getting run down by Greystone. Now you can backpedal and fire and be faster than you were before, whereas a Greystone moving forward is still going to struggle to catch you. Now you can just backpedal and auto, and you're going to kill someone before they can get to you, whereas before they at least had a chance. This is not the way that move speed needs to be changed, in my opinion. I think they just need to increase all movement speed by like 20%. Just make you move faster. If they're worried about you moving around the map too fast, then they need to make a bigger map. That's all there is to it. The movement speed right now feels really bad. In a team fight, you feel like a slug. If you're not playing Chimera, then you basically are really slow, and it doesn't feel very good as a player to play as a character that's slow. I won't be going over any left mouse button things. All that it's doing is increasing your basic attack speed at level 1, but then you're getting less per level so that you're getting the same amount at level 18. So I'm just going to be skipping anyone that says left mouse button. Belica, Neural Disruptor. So you're getting a little more percent damage on this, and it also reaches 100% bonus damage at 2/3 of their missing mana. So if an enemy has 1/3 of their mana, you will hit them for double damage with your ultimate. This matters a lot early game, a little less late game, but Early game, now you can insta-kill people at level 6, whereas before you had to wait until level 8, 9, and you had backed. This is going to be much better early game. Boris Rocket Slam, execute threshold increased from 10% to 25%, so you get 5% more. This is a change that I talked about in my Boris video, talking about why Boris was bad and how you could fix him. I don't think this is enough. 5%, you might feel this a little bit late game. Early game, not so much. This could easily go up 5 more percent. If this ended at 30%, it would be much better. I think it'd be more usable. Right now, this doesn't fix Boris's problems, in my opinion, or at least not enough. He still needs some, he needs some help. Decker, your Ion Bomb, so your max range on your stun is increased. Your Ion Bot, your slow, gets a small radius increase, but useful. And then your cooldown is reduced as well. Ion Boosters get the movement speed radius increased, quality of life change right there. Felt a little small before. I think you'll notice it being slightly bigger now. Pretty nice. Gadget gets a pretty big nerf. So your Electron Gate, your move speed, gets a huge Boris treatment kind of nerf, where your movement speed goes from 50 at max rank to 36. Now you'll have to actually position on the character that was built around positioning. Your right mouse button, basically they nerfed all the damage on this. You get half the scaling you did before. It's pretty much only useful for the slow, but you also have to be more accurate as its seek speed is slightly slower. On top of that, cooldown increase means that Gadget is going to be slightly harder to play now. Greystone. Greystone gets demolished in this patch. His cooldown on his jump gets increased. That's not so bad. The cooldown on his ult getting increased is really bad. It goes from a 3-minute cooldown at rank 1 to a 4-minute cooldown at rank 1. And then on top of that, when you're resurrected, you have 15% mana instead of 50% mana. So this gets destroyed. This ultimate is being nerfed in the wrong way, in my opinion. I don't think that I don't think the answer to a strong ultimate should be slapping a longer cooldown on it. I think that you can find other things about this ability to nerf it and make it easier to play around rather than just putting it on a longer cooldown. What you can do to this ult is maybe you take the slow off of it, or you respawn with less HP, or you respawn and maybe you're slowed for 2 seconds after you respawn. Something like that where it makes it easier to play around it, but it doesn't absolutely demolish any chance Greystone has at having fun in a match. Because with this being 2 minutes late game, sure, that's not too bad. 4 minutes early game is really bad. You're just going to get destroyed by anyone who knows what they're doing. It's not going to be fun to play Greystone anymore. Whereas if you give his ult a small downside, then he's at least still fun to play, even if he has a less impactful ultimate. Grim gets some pretty nice buffs here, actually. He gets quite a bit of power on his Acceleron Blast, so that you're going to feel that quite a bit. On top of that, your Electron mode increased attack range goes up a lot at level 1, make it a lot easier to safely farm with Grim, who's not a very safe character generally, but now you can farm from a further distance. On top of that, your cooldown on your bubble is getting reduced, so you're even slightly safer than you were before, and your ult now scales with physical power, so that you can actually ult people for more than 1 damage if you're building as a carry. Moving on to Grux. Seismic Pull. So your max range channel time has been reduced, so you'll pull at max range sooner. This will feel really good. Grux's pull is easily the worst part of his kit right now, and this will make it feel a lot better. Your pull will actually be useful as an engage, but to counteract that, your dash is getting a small nerf. Range decrease and your damage reduction. The damage doesn't matter, but the range will be felt. That's quite a bit of range that you're losing, so be careful dashing at max range. On top of that, your right click is losing 10 damage at all ranks. You'll feel it a little early game. It'll slow down your clear by like 1 auto, but late game you won't feel it too much because you just care about the percent damage. Kalari gets absolutely destroyed in this patch. Your invis is getting nerfed from 110 to 150 to 80 to 120, and it's scaling on your auto attack damage, which personally I think it should scale on physical power, not on auto attack damage. But bar that, the ability is now going to be fairly useless except for going invis, and the invis is very easily countered. Your dash is getting a cooldown increase, but a damage increase. If you're using this to clear camps, you'll notice this. If you're not using it to clear camps, this does not impact you basically at all. Dagger's getting 20 damage taken off of it. It'll slow down your clear by 1 auto attack. Other than that, this doesn't matter too much. and then your ult is getting a base damage reduction, but with a scaling increase, this will actually be hitting fairly similar damage numbers all around. Your passive also gets a cooldown reduction, a fairly big one at that. So you'll be able to triple jump less often. On top of that, your triple jump is reduced height, so you don't get to go soaring everywhere when you get your triple jump back. And then both of your damage on your passive also get reduced. Morigesh. Morigesh, basically what this says is she had too much burst damage for someone who's supposed to be a dot damage focused character, so he increased her dot damage and reduced her burst damage, which is what they did. All of her abilities got damage reductions, and some of them matter more than others, like Pestilence doing 20% instead of 25. You're going to feel this early game. You're not going to be able to insta-kill people quite as fast. And then Swarm, you heal less early game, but more late game because of the power increase. And then your Mark gets a small range decrease and then a cast time increase, so you won't be able to insta-clap people. Overall, these damage reductions are good. I think that this was the change that the character needed. The passive is where I think they went wrong. They reduced the base damage on the passive, but they increased the power scaling from 6 to 15%. This means every time you hit someone with an ability, you're doing like 5% of your energy power every second for 3 seconds. On top of that, those stacks now refresh with basic attacks and abilities. So as long as you're autoing someone, you're doing 5% of your energy power as damage. If you have 700 energy power, it means you're doing 35 damage per second to these people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're doing it constantly, and especially to squishy characters, APOC will proc on that. Stuff like that is going to make this really, really strong. I think that this damage number is too high, and I think they just broke her in a different way. Now she's going to be really broken in the dot damage category, whereas before she was, a little OP. I don't think this needed changed. Murdoch, power scaling decreased. You're not going to feel this. This is only useful for the protection shred anyway, so this isn't going to change how you play Murdoch. Muriel, your ult gets a pretty good buff here. Your knockup, it gets reduced slightly, but the radius increasing is going to be really nice. You're going to hit it more often, but it's going to be a little less impactful. Overall, this is a solid buff. March gets a radius increase, movement speed increase, and a mana cost reduction. 10% at all ranks is no joke. Early game, this is going to be really good. Late game, you'll notice it, but not quite as impactful as it was early game. And then Crash Bang Boom can now be canceled. This is useful if you're running someone down who got out of your ultimate because you move slower while you're using it. You can cancel it and chase them down. Richter gets his Electro Whip damage reduced by 5, doesn't matter. Chain Pull cooldown increased by 4 seconds at max rank. Pretty solid. The mana cost gets increased to compensate, but overall, this is a pretty big buff to this character. Severog gets some changes. I don't even know if I'd call these buffs or nerfs because they're not really that good. Your dash gets a cooldown increase and a range reduction, so that's kind of a nerf. Early game at least, late game it's the same, but kind of just an odd change to me. I don't know why they did this. But then to compensate, your passive gets buffed, so when you clear blue buff or red buff, you get 4 stacks instead of 1, which maybe adds up throughout a game, but I don't think it'll be quite as much as they'd like. And then stacks per hero, Raptor, and OP kills increase from 3 to 8. Once again, maybe it adds up throughout a game if you have 20 kills on Severog, but outside of that, I don't see this being an incredible change to his passive to make him a good jungler. I think he'll still be better as a flex pick in the solo lane. Sparrow gets a huge buff here. They call this a rework, and it sort of is, but this is a flat buff. So your hail of arrows now slows by 27% at max rank. This lets her actually box people. She doesn't have move speed in her kit, so her being able to slow people is going to really affect how the way she boxes. On top of that, Mark of Precision, your E, when activated, now gives 40% attack speed. It's only 3 seconds long, but 40% attack speed at max rank is a lot. Now you can actually box other carries. To compensate for that, your passive is getting nerfed off of this ability. You're not getting as many stacks, and but you're getting 40% attack speed. That's all that matters. When you're building crit and you're just destroying people, that's all that matters. And then finally, her ult gets a little bit of bonus range on it, so you'll be able to poke people. I don't think this matters quite as much, but it's nice. On top of that, you get bonus physical power while you're ulting. This is the part that matters. You're doing more damage while you're ulting. It makes sense that an ult would make you do more damage. So here it is. And now your passive will actually apply to yourself rather than the enemy you're shooting. So if I shoot a Twin Blast twice and then a Steel once, I will have 3 passive stacks rather than having 2 stacks on the Twin Blast and 1 stack on the Steel. So this is a quality of life change that I think makes a lot of sense. As long as you're landing your autos, you're still going to be doing bonus damage, whereas before you had to land autos on the same person. Steel, your Force Shield gets a lifetime reduction. This just means you can't set it up in front of an inhib and block a whole wave. You actually either need to time it better or use it less, I guess. And then your ult gets a stun reduction. This doesn't matter quite as much. His ult is still going to be really, really good as an engage, but you might feel it a little late game. 0.6 seconds is a lot to lose. And finally, we have Twin Blast. Twin Blast can go through minions with his dash, and he's gaining some power into his right click and losing it from his ultimate. So his right click now gives a whole lot more attack speed, up to 60% max rank, but your attack speed per passive stack's going down, and the duration is at 4 seconds. Instead of 4 seconds at all levels, it goes up to 5 at max rank. And with that much power being put into his right click, he is getting it taken away from his ultimate. So he's getting 15% taken off at all ranks. This is just to make sure that the character doesn't get too OP, but now you'll be more impactful outside of your ultimate. You'll actually have more to do as a character. But that's actually the end of the patch notes. I know it was a long video, but if you guys did enjoy, please do leave it a like and a subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of today's patch. Overall, I think it's closer to a step in the right direction, but I just don't think it's quite the full right direction. I think they need to take it one step further than they did. Overall, not a bad patch, but we'll see how it plays out in game. As always, guys, I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below, but that's all I've got for you guys. So, as always, I have been Pinzo. This video's done, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.